I just finished watching Totally Killer for the first time, and it's a genre of movies that I typically don't watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Today we're going to be breaking it down. We're going to be talking the plots, anything that I didn't like, anything that I did like. We're going to be talking about the entire thing. Spoilers ahead, although it's nothing new, so I don't know about if we really need any spoilers with this. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. So this type of like horror comedy thing is not something that I typically watch, and maybe this is just a really good movie in my opinion, or if it's something like if it's something I need to watch more of. For example, like my wife ended up describing this movie as a mix between Back to the Future and Scream. Now I know how popular the Scream movies are, but I've never even seen one of them. I just know that everybody typically likes them. I don't even know if it's like that horror comedy type thing, but regardless, like it's a very, very beloved thing, and it's like that with mixed in with Back to the Future, going back in time type thing. I found it funny that they even acknowledged that in the movie too, and I really, really liked it, man. I really liked it. So we're going to be breaking this down a little bit, like with the part 1, part 2, probably like, I would say this is kind of gets split up into 4 parts of the movie, and for the opening act of it, there really isn't too much to talk about. We're introduced to this killer. He's the Sweet 16 killer. He stabs people, which I don't recall if it's yeah, it must be Halloween night. No, it's not Halloween night. It's people on their 16th birthday party. But regardless, they're 16, they get stabbed 16 times. That was the whole thing of the killer. And it's weird that you have a horror-ish movie with comedy undertones to it, because it's just strange to me. I'm new to this. I've never been a big horror guy, but I really, really did find it funny sometimes when these people were being murdered, unfortunately. So we're introduced to the main character, Jamie, and she, of course, has her mom, Pam. They have a little bit of a difficult relationship. She was a survivor of a bunch of people from the Sweet 16 killer, like way back in the day. She had a note saying that one day that they're going to come for you. So she's like really, really worried. People are dressing up in this mask that was the Sweet 16 killer. People are just dressing it up. So she kind of gets freaked out. Long story short, she ends up getting murdered, and they didn't spend any time wasted with that. Jamie goes out. She's a little bit, I don't remember if she's going to a concert, whatever. Doesn't really matter. She fought with her mom, went out. The mom ended up getting killed. She got stabbed probably about 16 times. And I always have an issue nitpicking these things because I have been a big fan of MMA. I've participated in MMA my entire life. So when I watch these fight scenes and I'm like, oh, yeah, right. But I don't know if it's supposed to be ridiculous. That's the thing. Because there are things that absolutely would not happen in a fight, especially with a knife fight. And I don't know if the movie's trying to be like over the top just because of the nature of the movie. Regardless, I can't help but pick that apart, but it really doesn't matter, to be honest with you. So Jamie is stuck mourning the death of her mom. She was a piece of crap to her, and she, while she's mourning, she ends up helping her friend Amelia build a time machine that shockingly ends up working. And I went into this movie completely blind. Like when my wife started watching it by herself, and I think she said she got it like 20 minutes, half hour into the movie, and I was like walking by, what you watching? And then we kind of just ended up watching it together, and she rewound it for me, and I went into this completely blind. I didn't know that it was going to be like a comedy type horror, and I didn't know that it was going to have actual time travel into that. So when they were talking about the movie of Time Machine, I didn't expect it to actually work. But anyways, we figure out what the time machine is, right? And the Sweet 16 killer ends up coming back to finish off Pam's daughter. She runs away from the killer. The killer gets inside the time machine, which is a photo booth, stabs the machine, and somehow, and I don't remember exactly what it said, like, this stuff isn't my forte, as if it would make a time machine work, right? But something about having an extra metal conductor, I don't remember. Regardless, she ended up getting zapped back to 1987, which they was set there because they were interested in the Sweet 16 killers. So now the movie is going to be about Jamie finding her mom and the friends that were all killed and having to stop the murders from taking place. And this is what I really enjoyed about the movie, to be honest with you, is when she actually goes back, because you have somebody from the year in, what is it, 2023? Regardless, it's close to present day. You have somebody who is so progressive, and going back to somewhere like 1987, where she talks about getting into a school really easy, masking as a Canadian exchange student, no questions asked, no ID, things like that. She comes in and she finds her mom and all of the friends. And I gotta say, and my wife pointed this out too, the casting for it was like phenomenal, because the kids actually looked like the adults, and it was really, really well done. And the actors are actually really good too, to be honest with you. But what Jamie ends up finding out is that nobody likes her mom and all of her friends. They were huge pieces of crap. They were like the town bullies, and nobody ended up liking them. I loved that twist. I loved it. It ended up going to an okay-ish scenario at the end, you know, with Pam being okay, but Pam was horrible, where it's just like the things that she was saying, like, okay, like out of here, like, I loved it, man. And I can't even describe what they were saying, but I'd probably end up getting like flagged on YouTube for some of the stuff that they were saying. But even like when they ended up going to the party, because that's the next scene, right? Oh, and she finds her friend's mother, and that's the one who believes her because she kind of expected that she wanted to work on a time machine one day, and then somebody from the future might need help. So she got that. She convinces everybody that she's a psychic, which might work back then, to be honest. Like, I remember her showing her some crystal, like, yeah, sounds legit. And her even saying things like, what was it, vibe? Or no, dope. Yeah, nobody said dope back then. So it's funny seeing, like, people look at her weird for saying, like, cool slang. But the party thing was great. When I loved all of the little interactions that kept up the entire time where, like, Jamie would talk to somebody, and it's like just stuff that you can't do at all nowadays, from just getting bullied to, like, I don't remember any exact scenarios, but like the dude will walk up, be like speaking to the mic, and then, like, obviously, could you imagine if that happened nowadays? Or people just touching her and she's like, oh my god, unwanted touch, and then, like, they just would look at her weird and, like, touch her anyways. It's funny bringing somebody from that, like, all the way back to 1987. I loved pretty well everything that they ended up, like, set up there with any little interaction. So, like I said, we're at the party now, and she knows that somebody is supposed to get murdered. I like that she kind of stepped in and said all of these teeny tiny little things that ended up shaping up her future, which we kind of knew was going to get messed up. And we had the whole Endgame thing too, where they described how time travel is going to work. It didn't work like Endgame. It didn't work like Back to the Future. You could actually have, like, direct impact on what's happening in the future. So she ends up changing a couple things. Somebody gets murdered anyways. And then there's a whole other scene at the cabin, which I wish I could expand on that a little bit more for you, but all I can really say is it was pretty funny. Like, all the interactions, her getting locked out of the house, her eating the brownies, all of that type of stuff was really, really funny. The only thing that we really kind of got to figure out from it is that, she changed a couple things going on in the timeline, so the wrong person kept getting murdered, but the murderer was showing up. So she's changing teeny tiny little things here and there, but ultimately the killer is still on the loose and the killer is still killing people. So I did like watching that, and I did like when we circle back to the present too. Like, things like the photos being changed, but people knowing, like, that the photos weren't, there was something else within those photos, if that makes sense. But after the cabin, we had the scene at the amusement park where they had to find the killer, and they had to do it in so much time so Jamie could end up going home. They set this whole thing up, and I gotta say, the friends were really funny too. Like, just, again, I'm not going to repeat it on YouTube for you, but with the way they set her up to go into the amusement park, things were kind of funny over there, like, just with the way that they were, right? They're set up to attack the killer when he comes in, because obviously the killer is going to kill somebody on this night inside that haunted house. And I know that's not like this, like, groundbreaking thing that you could figure out, but I was kind of thinking, like, as soon as we figured out that all of those girls were, like, real big pieces of crap, obviously it was going to be somebody from the school. Obviously it was going to be somebody who just, like, really, really had a disdain for them. Maybe they ruined somebody's life and they didn't know about it, and it kind of ended up getting figured out. There ended up being two killers, which we're going to talk about in a second, but we had the first killer who ended up getting killed, and it was revealed to be Doug, the most normal guy from the entire thing. And I forgot to mention, like, with Jamie suspecting that one creepy dude was actually really funny, felt bad for him. But what Doug wanted is revenge for his girlfriend Trish, who turns out Pam and the gang ended up getting drunk, let her drive home, and she got into a car crash. Some would say that Doug's vengeance was justified. I, of course, would never suggest such a thing. But this is where it gets a little bit more ridiculous, because we have Chris from the present who ended up taking the time machine, going back. There was a second killer and ended up chasing everybody, but he got unmasked with some ride. I don't even remember what it was called. It was spinning a lot. The mask kind of ended up getting flown off, and he had a true crime podcast, and he needed to manufacture evidence and all of that. So he was part of it, but he wanted his podcast to succeed so well that he ended up going into the past to continue the murders with these people. They have one more fight scene, and then Jamie actually succeeds in getting back to the present. And this is probably, and I laughed pretty well this entire movie, guys. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. But this was the best part. Coming back to the present, right? It was just what? I guess a couple days for her, a few days, a week, I don't know. But she finds out that Pam is alive and well. She says, I love you, Mom, but they don't really know what's going on because obviously, like, she got zapped back into the future where she's supposed to be, but things are changed. She makes up with her parents, and something that I didn't touch on is, like, the little things that she was changing here and there. She ended up spilling the beans that, like, oh, Pam was supposed to get together with whatever her dad's name was, and she got the idea in her head. They got together earlier. She figures out that she has a 40-year-old brother or something like that, who ends up, because he's the first kid, he was named Jamie. And then the mom comes out, calls her Colette. She's confused, but she understands it very quickly because the mom of her best friend ended up coming, like, was waiting, what, I don't know, she said like 45 years or something like that, whatever it was. She brought a gun in, she was waiting to see who won that fight the entire time. She had a nice book explaining all of the changes that Jamie made just by yapping touching these little things, changing these little things, and all of the little changes that we like to see, especially the name, the Jamie. That was really funny. And the credits did a good job explaining, like, some of the main points as well, guys. And I don't know if it's just because I've never really watched any movies with this type of genre. I really, really enjoyed it. Like, honestly, I would say a solid 10 out of 10 for what it was. Was it stupid? Yeah. The fight scenes, stupid. Yeah. Stupid humor. Yeah. But it all hit. The pacing was well. I was thoroughly entertained the entire time. And the idea, like, figuring out who the killer was kind of funny too. But I kind of like the idea of taking somebody who is, like, really sensitive in present day, dropping them back in the day, having all the interactions there, and making sure that, well, not making sure, but she starts dropping little things here and there to change her future. I thought all of that was really, really funny, guys. Let me know what you think about everything down below. Thank you for watching. If you want to keep talking about movies, we did make a video on the whole chicken jockey situation. I would love to have you over there. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.